Epic Gaming Night is made possible by the support of patrons like you. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Canday, and with me tonight we have a special guest, my friend Mark Streed from Board Game Corner.
Hey guys, how's it going? Good to be here. Thanks, Roy.
Awesome. But yeah, Mark Streed does reviews over on the Dice Tower, and it does all sorts of stuff in board game media all over the place.
Yeah, Blender. I'm on Z's show Blender, and I've got a couple segments there, but we can talk more about that later.
Hype. Rob and Matt are both not on the show. Rob actually had his baby today, so we want to say congratulations to him on his daughter, Emerson Avery Newman. So,
big congrats.
The funny thing, we talked about this on the podcast a lot, that his wife helped picked out the name Emerson Avery, and then he's like, why do those names sound familiar to me? He's like, what's going on? And then he's like, wait a minute, I know designers with those names. And then he just like made it into a thing where he's like, yeah, named my kid after you guys.
That's right.
So they're like, oh my gosh, are you serious? So he's like, well, actually my wife kind of did, but mistakenly, but yeah, awesome. And Matt went on an amazing journey to go see the eclipse. So, He'll be around, but hopefully he didn't go blind staring at the sun.
Yes, that would be bad. But he could still talk on the podcast.
All we need is the yes. Come back for the yes, Matt. Awesome, Mark. So how's things been going?
Good. You know, we just got back from Gencon, right?
Yep. So this episode is going to be all about Gencon 50.
And it was awesome. Oh, my gosh. Well, it's such a good time. How about you?
Man, It was like a whirlwind. It was crazy. It was awesome. We're going to talk about a lot of our experiences at Gen Con and the crazy things we did and the crazy things we saw. But first, we're going to get into some of the news about Gen Con.
Yeah, some of the big games announced and shown.
Awesome. Well, I'll kind of talk about some of this stuff, and if you have certain experience with anything or you got any scoops on them, Mark, make sure to let me know.
For sure.
But the first one is a new game from Plaid Hat that was announced at the Gen Con convention, and they had miniatures for it, and that is Starship Samurai. This is it's like area control game, right, Mark?
Yeah, I believe so.
On a board. I was asking Isaac for like pictures, like if he had any board pictures, but he's like, oh, that's still up in the air. But the thing they did have was the miniature sculpts. And
they were amazing.
Look amazing for sure.
How can you not be excited about starships and samurais, right?
I know, but it looks like a lot of like mech, like anime inspired,
super cool,
like Gundams almost. But it like had characters with like gigantic flowing hair and all sorts of craziness going on. Like
so cool, and they're so detailed. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah. So, did you get any more scoop on like what the game's gonna feel like or what the game's gonna look like?
Just kind of that broad umbrella, you know, like you were saying. No real specifics. Isaac was just excited to show off the figures and stuff. So, and that he's been working on it for quite a while. So, I'm really excited to see where it goes and how and what the board is going to look like and how the mechanics of the game. So.
But yeah, if you want to check out what some of that looks like, you can check it out over on our Instagram. I'm sure, Mark, you posted pictures of it too, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so check that out on either Epic Gaming Night or Board Game Corner and see all the crazy miniatures of that stuff. So this next one I actually got a chance to play. That is Clank in Space. So this is the new version of Clank from Renegade Games. But
important to note that it's a standalone. It's not an expansion.
Yep, it's completely standalone and its own game. And it's re-themed in space, but they made several mechanical changes, and it now has a modular board.
Which is cool.
Yeah, and
it looks like that spacecraft, right? It looks like there's a cargo bay and all that.
Yeah.
So.
You've got like a medical bay and a cargo bay, and the tiles are double-sided, so the game can be different each time you play now, so you're not always going into the exact same dungeon. It's a little bit different.
Yep.
And they also changed up several of the mechanics. Like you can't get to the back where the big like treasure / artifact things are until you've put like your little data tokens down on 2 different sectors. So you have to explore the board a little bit before you can get
Which is
stuff
really
down.
cool. I really like that a lot, actually. That's a good improvement.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things is that the game doesn't immediately end after someone's gotten out in a certain number of turns. It's just that they ramp up the damage like hardcore every single round.
It's pretty cool.
So you have longer of a chance to get out, but you'll probably just die a lot quicker. So it's like
Yes.
the worst thing is I've played games of Clank where I've been like right at the edge of escaping and like the game just ended. And I was like, man, I wasn't going to die. I had like a chance. But in this one, there's these, I think another new thing is that they have like a different color cube, like the red cube now. And when you pull that out, everybody takes damage.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So
I
there's
only got to play it once, but it was really good. I really like, and I'm a huge fan of Clank anyway.
Right.
And this is it's not just like, oh well, this is going to replace the old one. It's different enough that you can own both, and they're just some of the best and unique deck building experiences out there, I would say.
Right. And I bet you it's even better when Eric Summerer shuffles the deck properly.
Yes, indeed.
We played a game, and every single round, it was like a dragon card for a while. And I'm like, Eric, what did you do? I like grabbed it and like pile shuffled it. I know our friend Chaz always fussed about the pile shuffling and the Kano clusters.
That's right.
But if it's a first time for a game, you kind of need to do some pile shuffling.
You really do.
To make sure that those things actually get properly separated. But just messing around, Eric. It's the best.
I think Z might be the master at that. I saw him sorting cards from new games.
Yeah.
He's on it immediately. It's awesome.
I'm pretty sure that anybody that plays CCGs always does the pile. I mean, it's not just
you got to.
It's not just the pile shuffle. Nobody like just pile shuffles one time. It's you pile shuffle, you shuffle it some, you pile shuffle, you shuffle it more. Like you mix it up, you switch it up in between shuffling styles.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's a must do for sure.
I was walking around with Chaz at the Secret Cabal meetup, and I brought that up, and he's like, "We don't want to end a friendship right now, do we?" And I'm like, "This is important, man. This is important."
Yeah, it's very important. Chaz is the best, man.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to go into like how fun it was to like hang out with everybody, but that was one of the highlights of Gencon.
Yep.
Just getting to see all these people that we interact with and hang out online or are part of the Dice Tower network together with, and just being able to spend time together and hang out, because like we consume their media too, so it feels like we all know each other because we all see each other's stuff all the time. So it's a lot of fun.
Totally.
So anything else to say about Clank in Space?
Go get it now. It's so good.
Check it out from Renegade Games.
Yeah, Renegade, man. Let's talk about Renegade for a minute. They
for sure
are just knocking it out of the park. They
sold out at like everything, didn't they? Pretty much.
They really did. They are quickly becoming one of my very favorite publishers. Fantastic quality, and it is just if you haven't checked out their games, you got to go do it.
For sure. Like it's amazing how like all of their stuff is good. Like sometimes you see these publishers and it's like you're not sure whether it's going to be hit or miss. Like Renegade is one of those names now where it's like if it just says Renegade on the box, you're probably going to like it.
Probably going to like it. Yep.
So that's great to have that kind of quality in your games. And they sold out like it was like the second day or like the third day, and I was talking to Sarah and she's like, "Oh, we sold out of 7 of our titles." And I'm just like, "What?
Insane.
That is insane."
Yeah. They had lines to rival Fantasy Flight for sure, you know.
That was great.
It wrapped around the booth. It was crazy.
Awesome. Well, this next one is a game from. I didn't get the full announcement. Me or Mark didn't get the full announcement.
Right, we didn't get the full announcement, but this is a game from my childhood, man. I love this thing. I used to own it, but that was forever ago. And man, I cannot wait to see what they do with the reprint or the redo, whatever you want to call it.
So, from Restoration Games, they are making a new version of Fireball Island.
It's going to be awesome.
So, and they are partnering with Game Trays, the same people who did all of the Mechs versus Minions trays and have done tons of other amazing like inserts and trays. They did the Wasteland Express trays as well. Exactly. So like any of those games that have crazy trays, like these guys are on top of it. So it's going to be
one of my favorite things about those guys, man. I love organization in games, and that's just over the top.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so that's going to be super exciting. So I've never played Fireball Island, but it's basically like you're trying to get to the top of the island, and then fireballs are rolling down and smashing you.
And they are rolling down and smashing you. So it's going to be interesting to see where they take it, because it was a pretty basic game, very much a kid's game. I hope they make it a little more gamer. You know what I mean?
Well, that's one of the things that Rob Davio is trying to do with all of these remakes of games is he takes the old game and adds some more like gamery elements into it. I mean, none of them have been like super heavy so far. They're still like family friendly, but they feel a little bit more like a game instead of just chucking a dice most of the time,
I'm pretty excited to see where it goes, because I have such fond memories of playing that thing. So
that's awesome. Cool.
Although part of me selfishly wanted them to be announcing Dark Tower.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of those games I wanted as a kid that I never got, and my friends had, but I wanted it really bad. I was really hoping that was the big announcement. But this is still pretty awesome.
Yeah, Restoration Games is doing a good job with all the remakes they've made so far. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see as they progress and bring back all these crazy games. Because, like, how many years did he say back he was trying to aim for?
What was it?
Was it like 30 years back 30 for
years?
games?
I think it was 30 years back.
So, for the most part, the guys over at Restoration are shooting for games older than I am, which is pretty awesome. So, bringing them back into the new age and updating them. So, yeah, we're pretty excited about that. Mark, you got to take away with this next one, since you were actually there at the launch event or the announcement event.
So I was at the Upper Deck party, and the way they announced this game was, it was a little bit rowdy, but you got everybody to calm down. He's like, all right, you guys got to listen. And the way they did the big announcement was they kicked off the X-Files music for Legendary Encounters X-Files. And there wasn't, there's not a lot of details about it yet, or what they're going to do different for this one.
For sure.
But the Legendary stuff has been pretty solid, So I'm excited because I like this theme. I really, really like the Alien one. It's probably still my favorite of the bunch. But this one, and along with the new Buffy one, I'm pretty interested in that. But
are you a big X-Files fan?
Yeah, I was a huge X-Files fan, so I'm pretty excited to see what they do with this theme for the system.
Yeah, I'm definitely a huge fan of regular encounters, and a lot of the other regular Legendary, the other encounters games. A lot of times I'm like, man, this feels like really hard and like brutal and punishing most of the time. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to do X-Files, and I really hope that I enjoy it, because I need a good X-Files game in my life. Like, I just need one on my shelf that I can be like proud of and be like, it's X-Files, let's play. Right. So.
Yep. I'm really hoping for good things with this one. So I'm going to be watching closely as they release more. So.
Chat saying that I sound like I have a little bit of the Gencon cold.
Oh, do you? I didn't think so.
I definitely got a little bit of con crud going on. Did you survive, Mike or Mark?
Yeah, I survived, which is unusual for me. It's still early in the week, but hopefully. I
shook so many hands.
Yeah, same
and
here.
Had so many random dudes run up and hug me.
Yep. It was crazy. Even at the Secret Cabal meetup, right? We walked the line, and so many people stopped us to say hey and take photos. It was really cool. So.
Sorry, any listeners that are like, man, Roy sounds really nasally. I'm just trying to make content for you guys. You guys are amazing. Right. Didn't want to put it off because I have the minor sniffles. So.
Con crud is the worst. I've had it way too many times.
Yeah. Interacting with other humans that have other germs. That's terrible.
It's terrible.
Time to play Pandemic.
I feel like there's a game there, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
Pandemic, the convention.
So this next one was the big announcement at the in-flight report for Fantasy Flight. and that is Star Wars Legion. This is their new Star Wars miniatures game that is, I guess, their attempt to rival Warhammer 40K, because it's like a little squad-based thing where you're moving like your leader unit, and then all your other little guys follow behind him, and you're rolling dice. It looks very X-Wing-ish as far as the stuff, but the movement templates are like straight lines, but they have like little bendy like clicks in them.
Yeah. They've got
feel sort of like Armada a little bit.
Right. That's exactly what it feels like.
And then
it feels like it's got a good mix of Armada / X-Wing in there, you know.
And as far as like the stuff goes with all the different games, this feels more like X-Wing than Rune Wars does. Even the combat is like very similar. You've got like attack dice and defense dice and stuff like that, where you're rolling off against each other. You've got actual like critical hits on the dice, just like X-Wing, that can happen. And it'll be interesting. I'm not quite sure how exactly the whole building your army and upgrading units and stuff like that works yet.
I'm not sure either.
But it looks like a miniatures game set in the Star Wars universe. Yeah,
and how awesome is that? If you're a Star Wars fan, this is going to be right up your alley. And I suspect this is going to be ginormous for them, right? I mean, I suspect it's going to cast a big shadow over Rune Wars. What are your thoughts? I mean, being that you're such a fan.
Yeah. I really enjoy Rune Wars, and one of the reasons that I actually really do like Rune Wars is because it doesn't have that defense die thing. I just hate getting a great roll and then my opponent getting a great roll that counteracts my great roll.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but I had so much hope, and now it's all gone. So I really like the multiplication system of the different trays in Rune Wars. So I really enjoy it. But as soon as this was announced, or as soon as there were even inklings of rumors of this being announced, I was like, oh my goodness, Rune Wars was struggling a little bit, and I feel like they're just shooting themselves a little bit for this. And I'm just like, man, out of the two, I mean, people don't have infinite money, Fantasy Flight. Like, we can't buy all of your games. There's I don't think there's anybody that's going to competitively play Rune Wars and competitively play Legion. Like, it's just not going to be a thing. If you have a choice between the two, people are going to pick Star Wars every time.
Right. Unless you're not really into that, right? I mean, there could be a whole fantasy set of people that are prefer.
And I mean, I feel like I'm in that set because I like the crazy fantasy monsters. But if they start like dropping Rancors and stuff in the Star Wars game, or like what are the like ice monsters from Hoth? What are those called?
Oh yeah, the what are they? The Wampas or whatever?
Yeah, if they start adding like crazy weird stuff into that game as well,
that could be pretty cool.
Then it's going to be like, they got monsters in that game too. Why am I even playing this? So
it's going to happen. They're going to totally do that.
Yeah. So I went into it like looking at Legion, and I'm just like, man, I feel like I was the only person out there making content for Rune Wars, and I was trying to push it because I enjoyed the game. I have a lot of fun with it.
You were super excited about it,
and I would continue to be excited about it. I actually saw Corey Konezka and was like, "Hey man, love Fantasy Flight games," because Corey Konezka is like actually my favorite designer. He's designed so many things that I really enjoy. It's just like thematic epic games are in his wheelhouse, and I know he doesn't really like work on Rune Wars or Legion, but he's got all those ties for Fantasy Flight. So I'm like, "Hey man, why are you guys trying to kill Rune Wars? Like, what's going on with this Legion game?" And he's like, "Well, they're two different games, you know. They're completely different." I'm like, "Yeah, they're definitely two different games. Like, I understand that, but they're still miniatures."
Yeah,
and you guys are a board game company, so everybody's definitely going to compare them and pick in between the two.
It's gonna cast a huge shadow
for sure
over everything. So.
And he's like, "Well, we've got tons of stuff coming out for the Rune Wars line, and we've got a bunch of stuff that's still like going to be coming out for Rune Wars and things that haven't been released yet." And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, I was hoping for like at least another like announcement to like keep it on par where people could still have a little bit to get excited for Rune Wars, but there was no Gencon Rune Wars announcement at all, which to me was just like, and I was like, man, my co-host. So Rob, I was telling people this story about how about my feelings about Rune Wars versus Legion the whole time, because people were asking me, because they know that I like Rune Wars. They're like, "What do you think's gonna happen? Like, is this gonna get rid of Rune Wars?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure it is." I'm like, "I just hope that I can still find people to play with." Rob texts me as soon as he sees the Legion announced and says, "Hey man, I'm out of Rune Wars. I'm gonna try to get some Legion. That stuff looks awesome." And I'm like, "What? Seriously, we've been talking talking about it on the podcast. We've been talking about how fun it is. He bought like 3 core sets of it, and now he's like, I'm out. I'm like, dude, well, let me know before you get rid of your stuff, so at least I can like try to get it off you or something, so I can find somebody to play with. So, but he was my only player because there's not a whole lot of people running all around playing Rune Wars. But so I told Corey Kineska that. I was like, my only player already's telling me he's ditching me for Legion. and he's like, well, it doesn't come out till next year. At least you can play Rune Wars till then.
You got 1 year left.
I was like, what? That is not what you say to someone who's freaking out. Come on, Corey. I was very polite about it. I was very nice. I was like, okay, cool, man. Heartbroken. I was like, hey, thanks. I hope you have a great convention and all that stuff. I mean, I wasn't acting sad, but, I was still having a good time.
No doubt. But
I was just like, wow, that's your response. Well, you got a year to play it. Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Yep. Well, you have to wonder, like in the chat here, if they did Legion to go head-to-head with Song of Fire and Ice, right?
Right.
Or Song of Ice and Fire, whatever. I mean, it's a different game again, but man, I mean, that's another huge IP.
I feel, honestly, like Fantasy Flight, since they're a big company, they work really hard on these games and they want them to succeed, but literally they're throwing spaghetti up against the wall, and if something doesn't stick well enough, they're just going to drop it.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've got tons of stuff in the works because they work on things years in advance. So they definitely have more stuff coming for Rune Wars. But if it doesn't continue to pick up, I don't see how they can continue it. Another thing that just makes me sad about the whole thing is I was really big into Battle Lore, and I'm just still never going to get that Elves faction. Like,
no.
Rune War killed Battle Lore, and now Legion has killed Rune Wars. And I just can't win. Like, I'm like, hey, man, I'm trying to support you guys, but you guys aren't supporting me back. Oh, man. It's rough.
Yep.
But anyway, talking about all that, Legion does look pretty cool.
It does.
I don't think I'll be getting in on it unless like people are super crazy about it, but it looks interesting.
Yeah, it does look interesting, and I gotta do a little hands-on with it a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I'm digging this.
My question is like, the miniatures are so similar. Why can't you just use your Imperial Assault miniatures to play this game?
Yeah.
And I'm afraid people are going to be like super shocked when they see all the sticker shock for the price of this miniatures game that's not put together as opposed to what an Imperial Assault expansion costs,
Right. Well, in Imperial Assault, I need that app. I would need them to finish that. Don't. And that better happen. I need that to happen.
Right. So, yeah, a lot of people were upset because they feel like the 2-player version of Imperial Assault is also going to be gone with this.
I wonder about that as well. Yes.
I've never played it 2-player. Have you played the 2-player skirmish version?
It's always been 3 or more.
I've always tried to do like the story mode and stuff like that.
I like the story modes. Yeah.
I'm really excited about the app hopefully coming out. They did announce at the In-Flight Report they're still working on it.
Yep, did.
So they need more people in their app development team, I think.
Yeah. I desperately want that app. Oh, so excited. That just solely based on Mansion Madness, right? It was done so well.
I wonder with the Star Wars IP, they have to get approval every step of the way.
Yeah, I'm sure it's got to be paid. Well, I know I'm very aware of what that is like in the Star Wars world. So
right. Awesome. Well, that's all of our news of some new announcements from Gencon. I'm sure there are tons more that we'll cover in the future because there's so many exciting things that were announced at Gencon.
Those are some of the biggest too. Some of the biggest things.
For sure. So, hey, Mark, tell us about a game that you've played.
Oh, other than Gen Con? Before Gen Con or during Gen Con?
During Gen Con, whenever. A game you have recently played.
So, one of the biggest surprises for me, totally didn't even know about this game, hadn't heard anything about it, Edge of Humanity. So, Sam and I went and played this game from Golden Egg Games, and it was over in the corner. And it's a deck builder, but it's a story-driven deck builder, post-apocalyptic. It's got multiple stories in the base box, and they're gonna be releasing new scenarios every year for it, and they're gonna do other things with the system. But what's neat about this deck builder is that a couple different things. As you move through the story, the events of the story, and I'm not going to spoil what those stories are, but the events of the story actually force you to thin your deck instead of you actively doing that.
Nice.
And it does it in such a way that you have to make some really interesting, rough choices at times, and you really can't get attached to cards because you never know if you're going to still have it next time.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to balance that, right, with all the supplies and how many supplies you need to gain the points. And it's just victory point thing where you get to the first to the end of the road, or the end of the map, I should say.
Right.
And you can adjust the map to be more points to get, or the end of the if people aren't scoring well and you actually get to the end of the story, the game ends there as well. So it doesn't just go on and on and on. But what's also really cool is that when you use supply cards to like build a building, let's say, you can tuck them under the building as showing the building is in progress. And when you finish the building, those cards are trashed. They don't go back to your discard pile for more supplies later. So those supplies are actually used to build a building.
Nice.
And then you have to actively go back
and get more.
to get more. It's a really neat mechanic and how all that comes together and works. And Sam and I played this game like 4 times, and we introduced it to new people every time. And we played with Rob initially, Rob Oren, and the 3 of us. And I think Rob did a really nice little vlog about it on that day.
Nice.
Yeah, so you guys should go check that out. But we played with Alex from Dukes of Dice, and we played with a couple of the other Dice Tower guys a couple other times. But Sam and I, we made it through, like, because we had new people come in, we did the intro scenario 3 times.
Nice.
And then we got into the next one. And what's cool is that the stories also change. So in that base scenario, you don't really deal with weapons, but in the second one, you get like weapons and ammo, and then you have to manage not only supplies and resources, but then you have to manage having enough ammo to deal with the events that come up. So there's enough going on. It really makes it interesting, and it's got really nice artwork. Really enjoyed this game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I can't wait to do the review for it. So, and I'm gonna ping Sam, see maybe we can tag team that one. It'd be really fun. But it really took me by surprise. It's one of those, I didn't know anything about this game, and I love it. The story-driven stuff is really well done. So, yeah, and you go check it out. Edge of Humanity, Golden Egg Games.
Awesome. Definitely sounds great. It's definitely one I'll have to check out because I enjoy deck building games as it is. So story-filled deck building game sounds excellent.
How about you? What was your the latest thing that you really liked?
So this is a game I've talked about a ton, because we did a Kickstarter preview for it and a bunch of different stuff. But for the first time ever, I got to see and play Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea from Gameland Games. I got to see it in the flesh with all the miniatures and everything. So I scheduled a game to play with the guys from Gameland Games and our friends over at Neverboard Gaming. And I got to play with Michael Coe, the CEO of Gameland, and then Scott Alms, the designer, as well. This was my first time ever actually gaming with those guys, so it was a blast. And they had never really gamed with me, so they didn't quite know how hardcore I can be, I guess. No, I don't know. But we had a ton of fun. This is a Fantasy 4X game with a gigantic board because we were playing 6 players. And we're all playing our crazy faction races. We made sure to have all of the because the Kickstarter had a base box that you need to play the game, and then the 5 and 6 player expansion, which added 4 more races. We made sure to play with all the expansion races because I had never seen them. I've played all of the base set races before, but I got to play the undead this time.
Ooh, cool!
So I got to have a big Dracolich thing on the table that could fly my units around and could make all of their peons not have any strength. And I just love this game because it is a 4X game. We played a 6-player 4X game that is gigantic with tons of minis all over the board in 3 hours, and we started at 9 p.m. So we're all kind of tired with our Gencon stuff going on. But it only took us 3 hours, 6 players, and that is with Michael's explanation of the game. So pretty good. We beasted that game out, and
you pulled that win out, didn't you?
Oh yeah. So this game was the most epic game of Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea that has ever been played. So I I normally in Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, I try to like build up my civilization and kind of like try to do some buildings and like take over some areas, but not necessarily be super combat heavy. Well, Nathan is their like kind of like their marketing guy over there at Gamelin, and he was just whispering in my ear the entire game, like, attack, go attack that guy, go attack this guy. I didn't want to let Nate down, so I was just attacking all over the place, left and right, to grab some extra points. The problem with that is I did get a ton of points from attacking, but that made me have a huge target on my back, because they're like, holy smokes, Roy is way ahead of all of us because he keeps attacking us all over the place and winning these combats. The combat in this game is great because it's got like very like deterministic combat, but it's like a like Rochambeau paper rock scissors kind of combat where like every different card has like a like counterpart, and you can look at your the cards also cost resources, so you can look at your opponent's resources to like take out some of the cards that they'll be able to play against you. So you're like, well, I know they're not going to be able to play this, so let me set that down. Okay, though, it's more about figuring out which card your opponent's going to play than it is even about figuring out which card you're going to play, because you try to play the card that counteracts theirs. And that'll add some strength, but you also want to have a bunch of units in there because that adds you a bunch of strength too. I love the combat in this game. I love the follow action mechanism in this game, but the game came down. I was very combat heavy. Aaron from Neverboard Gaming was very just like industrial, building buildings, getting his units on the board. Like he had like one combat the entire game. He was in like last place on the point track. And then Scott Alms was kind of like in the middle. He did some combat. He had some dudes on the board. He got like a heavy lead. Everybody like attacked him like crazy because he was like in the lead. Everybody attacked me like crazy because I was in the lead. And then I let Scott pass me. So then they started like wrecking on him, which was a good plan.
Yeah.
But Scott didn't have much territory in the end, but he had a ton of points from all these combats he had won, and like spells and stuff he had cast. But it came down to where me and Aaron were tied for the win, and Scott Ohms was 1 point behind us.
Okay.
And the tiebreaker was resources, and I had like 2 more resources than Aaron.
Oh, nice!
So literally, I won the game by like a hair. And
that's awesome.
Me and Aaron took completely different paths in this game. I was fighting and casting spells constantly, and he was just building up his engines and getting all his characters out on the board and building his buildings. So you can play this game multiple different ways and make it happen. But I did pull the game out and win. I probably could have played more efficiently, but I started feeling bad for my opponents because I'm like, I should jump on you and take points from you and like wreck you right now. But I feel bad for like trouncing on people so bad. And I was like, Michael, I'm not going to attack you because I want you to still be friends and let me like review your games in the future. So I'm gonna calm down a little bit. And he's like, thank you, because I was jumping on him some.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we wrecked Michael a lot. We wrecked Scott a lot. It was a lot of fun. Everybody bantering back and forth and attacking and playing cards. But yeah, man, this game, I mean, I was trying to reserve like judgment until playing like a production copy, but like I love 4X.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Everybody knows that Twilight Imperium is like my favorite game of all time. Like this is like a 4X game in a short time frame that actually gives you like that real 4X feel. Like this game is easily in my top 5, like easy.
Nice.
Which is huge for me. Like that is really huge. So when this thing comes out, I'm gonna be playing it like crazy. I gotta play all the factions. Like it's gonna happen. But yeah, that is Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. You can't really buy it. It's gonna come out next year. But
yeah, I can't.
All those who
can't
kickstarted it. I hope you guys made that happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you have another game you want to talk about?
I think we'll save that for the Gencon stuff. I have a pretty exciting game we played then. But you know what? Before Gencon, I have to give big shout out to Too Many Bones. Oh my gosh, nice. I love this game. It is so much fun. I played it with Scott Morris from Passport, and he's the one who turned me on. And I just love all the ginormous skill tree and all the cool custom dice. And literally, I mean, the Chip Theory guys were at Gen Con, and they had one of the best looking booths there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw it. It looked great.
Right? And I love how they do the health in this game using poker chips. You stack them up, and then you just remove chips as you lose health. But really, what it boils down to is that everybody has a very different character, and the dice for the different skill trees fit into the skill tree slots on the big player mats. And you can pick any different path that you want to weave that character. And you have some interesting choices because you can only roll as many dice as you have decks for. So you have to choose if you're going to do some armor, you're going to choose to attack. And the way they do the battles on this little grid, really, moving the baddies and you across the board and doing ranged attacks and stuff really works well. And it's not really a dungeon crawl. It seems like it's more of has that big adventure feel to it. And there are many cards in the deck to create these scenarios, and it varies on how you play. It just is really, really well done. And it's a big, expensive game with the beautiful components, and they made everything in the thing like waterproof. So like the cards have this weird texture on them. And Scott Morris told me that he took the deck of cards and threw them in a sink of water and pulled them out, and they were fine. So
that's crazy.
They just bead off of the cards. It's amazing. So they've really made it such that, if you spill your drink or whatever, whatever. This game just is resilient.
That's
and for
awesome.
Me, the story-driven part of it is really well done.
Yeah.
So,
This makes me kind of sad. Like you told me about how hyped you were for this game after playing it when you went down to see Scott. And this was right after I had given it back to my friend Trevor. Trevor left his copy at my house for like a month. And like the game, like to learn it is not,
yes.
I don't feel like it's super like easy to get into because I'm just like, holy smokes, there's so many abilities, so many different things. And then you played it and said it was amazing. And Trevor got his copy back from me and said it was amazing. And I never got a chance to play it because I couldn't make it happen. It's so
you gotta make that happen.
It's so difficult for me to learn someone else's games because I have so many games as it is. It's like I only have a certain amount of brain space I can use for games. And if it's not gonna like be at my house all the time, how can I save that space?
Yeah.
But
you're right. Really, the game mechanics overall are not hard, but what it comes down to is learning the intricacies of your character, and that's the time-consuming part of it because you're not really sure. You get this character like, I don't know how these skills interact, So there's a lot to learn about that. The basicness of just moving through the map and the cards, that's pretty straightforward. But yeah. To really learn, you got to play the same character probably 3 or 4 times to really have a good feel for it. And there's like 6 if you get the expansion, right? 6 characters, I think, or is there 6? Yeah. But it really I love, and the dice are the same kind of dice you find like in Star Wars Destiny. That quality of dice.
Oh, nice.
On a smaller scale, but using icons instead of like images. Or full color artwork, I should say.
So I just feel bad that I messed up. Sorry, Trevor. Didn't learn your game. I done goofed.
Yeah, you gotta find time and check it out, man.
Awesome. So there's so many games that I'd love to talk about. And I'm trying to figure out. I guess I'll go with one that I think would be like really hot that people would want to know about. And I mean, I've got a bunch that I want to talk about, and I'm sure I'll talk about them in future episodes. But the one I do want to talk about right now is the Fallout board game. I got a chance to do the demo for that. Right. Did you get to demo this, Mark?
I did get to demo it. Yes.
So the Fallout board game, it's really hard to tell like exactly how it's going to play all the way to completion after only playing like a few rounds of the demo. But like it has interesting combat mechanics that like kind of look like the VAT system where you're trying to roll to hit certain parts of the body depending on the creature you're fighting, and the pips on the dice that they get, or the little burst symbols on the dice that they get, hit you back for damage. But then there's also skill checks that you're special as like the stat lines in Fallout can help you out with these different skills that you can do depending on different like encounters that you can have. You can go to different places. You basically have 2 actions each turn. You can either use it, and when you have these encounters, like the person to your left reads the card, and there's like a choose your, like you get to choose the outcome. Like I had one where I was like, oh man, you meet this guy, and like it's a shady guy in an alley, and like he tells you to come along with him like down to the like bad part of town. Do you like run off and ignore him, or do you like go with him, or do you like turn him over to, like it will give you like 3 different choices of what to do with this guy. So of course I was like, oh man, he seems like a well-to-do guy. Let me go hang out with him. And he gave me some of the like the different drugs that they have in Fallout, as like the jet and stuff like that. They can like boost your stats for a certain amount of time, but you could become addicted and it could be terrible. So it's got all these different items and things you see in Fallout all the time. But the most interesting part to me is the quest mechanic and like this quest deck that you're going through. Basically, you're all racing to get 9 points in the game, and one of the ways to get points is by like completing these different things in your hand, but there's also like you can get more of those and complete different things for different factions by this quest deck. So each time the quest deck comes out, it'll give you like a little story blurb, and then it'll be like 2 options. It'll be like, hey, go to this location, or hey, kill this type of creature sort of thing. And depending on whoever gets to that first, it triggers that special thing, and you get rewards. Like you'll get like prizes, and maybe one of the factions will go up, and you're trying to like make the factions that you have cards for like go up the most so you can get points. But then you'll go to another specific card out of the deck, and it'll have 2 options for the quest. And then after you complete one of those, it'll go to another specific card off of the 1 out of 2 that you beat. So it's like this just branching storyline of quests.
Yeah,
and just branches and branches and branches. And we were playing like one like intro scenario during this, and the deck of cards just for that scenario was huge.
Huge. Yeah,
it was huge in this branching quest line for this story. And the story
Same
we were
here.
playing was all about, like, I guess these robot people. And you're
Robot-
like, are they
yep,
really
right.
people? Are they really
Yeah.
humans? I forgot what they're called, like, in the Fallout
Yeah.
universe. I think it's from 4, and I played a lot
Yeah.
more 3 than I did 4.
Oh, really? Okay. I can't think of the name either.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they're the guys that are like at the Institute and stuff, and you can try to go find the Institute, and if you go find the Institute, or you can go over to this other town and ask for more information. Like there's all sorts of like different options and different ways to run through this quest, and I didn't get to see much of that, how it progressed out, but just that branching storyline thing was
the thing
super
that was the
exciting to me.
coolest bit for me. The branching storyline and the fact that I went into this having doubts. I was like, I don't know how. It's just another IP. Is it just going to be something like One versus Many, or what are they going to do, really?
Yeah.
I was blown away. It has dripping with theme. It's
sure. It feels like Fallout.
It feels like Fallout. The look and feel, everything is there. I cannot wait for this game. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
And it gives, I mean, it's not real. I wouldn't really call it like a full sandbox game, but it definitely gives me like that
There's definitely a
adventure
path.
type feel.
Yeah, it does.
Where you've got,
yeah.
you can kind of run in whatever direction you want. There's obvious, like, the best choice sort of things to do.
Yeah.
But you can upgrade your character as you go along. You can get
Right.
new items. You can get companions. You can, like, progress through the storyline. And I think there's, like, 4 different quests in the base box. And they're all based off of, like, Fallout 3, 4, and some of the DLC. So you're like playing through these, and they have different maps for like each one.
Yeah,
so like the way you set up the tiles and the way you set up the maps is like there's certain ones that are always in there, but they're kind of like randomized and face down, so you don't know exactly where they are. And it's got like the radiation and like all these just different things you know from Fallout. So,
all the things you'd expect. And the other thing I thought was cool is that what you think is the best choice isn't always the best choice, and that was really clever. I really, you're like, oh, it would have been better to do the other thing.
Yeah, and that gives a lot of replayability too, because you're like, well, I know this thing kind of might happen, but maybe I should do something different to see what happens next time I play.
Yeah.
So, but definitely super excited. I love the miniatures too.
Yeah, they're
just like,
well done.
Just like
really
Brotherhood
well
of Steel guy, you got a ghoul guy, you got a super mutant guy, you've got like a guy from a vault, you've got like all these different characters that just make you feel like Fallout.
Yeah, it really they captured the look and feel really well.
So I'm excited to get a full playthrough of that. But I can kind of tell it's gonna be a long game.
Yes, it absolutely will be a long game. I'm guessing, maybe something in the order of an hour per player. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like you're gonna play at least 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I was actually listening to a podcast where the designer and one of the people that work at Fantasy Flight, a lady that works there, was talking about the game, and she was all like, yeah, we played the game, and it was great. It was like a bunch of people's first time, but it took us like 6 hours. I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Do you say that on a podcast? I don't think you should. Whoa.
Yeah.
But she's like, we're being super casual about it and stuff, though. I'm like, but whoa. So
yeah, if the time goes by though and everybody's engaged, you don't even notice the 6 hours, right? It's one of those things. Like the Mansions of Madness 6 hours campaign. I played it like 3 times. It's ridiculous, and it's just fun every time. So
awesome. Well, that is the Fallout board game from Fantasy Flight. Let's get into our questions, man. We've been here for a while. Let's make this happen. Let's talk a little bit about Gencon itself.
Yes.
So how do you think your Gencon overall went, Mark?
Oh, this is my 4th or 5th Gencon. I have to think about that. Maybe 5th. And being that it was the 50th year, it was really exciting, right? And it was definitely, I felt like even Thursday was what Saturday usually was like, right? It was just wall-to-wall people. And it's still maybe not like a San Diego Comic-Con, but it was feeling a lot more like that in the way of the crowds and just the enormity of it all, right? Just huge. Everything is big and in your face.
For sure.
And so many, and I think bottom line though of all that, just walking through the halls, Roy and I were filming for the Dice Tower and Twittering and Instagram and all that, and just all the people who stopped us. Yeah. While we're out and about was awesome. Hey, just to say hi or to get a photo.
It's funny because I would literally have people stop me and tell me they loved my content while I was telling other people about people stopping me and telling me that they love my content.
Exactly.
It was a blast. Like I had a fun. Like I know there's a lot of people out there that like make stuff, and like when people recognize them, they might be like, "Oh man, I get it." Like it is the best thing in the world for me. Like it makes everything worth doing.
It is. It makes it all worth doing, and I just love if you can make people excited about this hobby, and I love that. So
yeah. Me and Mark, like I gathered the tickets for the Dice Tower live show, and Mark handed out the tickets for the Dice Tower live show. But it was just so like even just gathering the tickets, all the people in the line, we got to see the entire like hardcore Dice Tower fan base come in and be like, "Oh man, love your stuff. Oh man, enjoy your content. Oh man, favorite game Friday is the best. Oh man, you're awesome." Like it was just so like encouraging as a content creator to just be like, I must create more content. These people are relying on me. I must make more. I don't know. Yeah. It's just
it's totally true. I felt exactly the same way. And so many people are, they're busy trying to go through the line, and then they come over and I hand them a ticket like, "Hey, get a Ralph ticket." And you're like, "Oh, hey, Mark." It was really, really cool, and really thankful to everybody. Just I appreciate all the kind words and support.
Beforehand, when they're like, "Oh yeah, Roy and Mark, you guys are gonna do like the tickets," I was like, "Mark, I'm actually excited about doing the tickets. Like, I don't just because I want to. It would be cool to see every single person.
And we did. We saw every single person. So
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a really energizing experience because so many kind words. So many just genuinely nice people. So
and I don't know if you listened to the podcast at all, but Tom during the live show had said like thanks to us, and everybody was like, "Yay, cool!" Before we were in there, and then like we walked in a little bit later, and they're like, "Oh, look, there's Mark and Roy now!" And everybody cheers, and I'm like, "Yay!"
I didn't. I'll have to go back and listen. I hadn't done that yet. That's
he announced it. He announced it like earlier, but we were still working. Like we were working to get all these people in because like there were a bunch of stragglers
and
behind.
we did have a lot of people too. For at least to me, say that they the way we did tickets this year for the raffle worked. They were also, "Oh, this is so much better than previous years." So I think
because you literally just had to be like, grab one real quick.
Yeah, yep. And I think we'll just continue to do that in the future. So
my arm was getting sore, like trying to grab them like as fast as I can because they were like pouring in.
Yep, really, and it was just really fun to meet everybody. So
awesome.
It was definitely so. It was just overall, it was one of probably the best Gen Cons I've had, and working even closer. Every year I've worked with the Dice Tower, but this year we were Roy and I were just integrated. We were doing stuff, and it was so funny. I had like an afternoon when Sam and I went to play Edge of Humanity. He came over and goes, "Dude, you want to play a game?" I said, "Oh man, I'm on the schedule. I have to go film and then do the Twitters." And he's like, "Well, hold on a minute." And so he makes a call to Tom, and he says, "You're in. Tom said you can go play." I said, "Let's go."
That's awesome.
So I skipped out that afternoon, and it was so worth it.
Sam was probably like, I got to play this game so I can review it. And Tom's like, well, that's important too.
Yeah. So that was just a highlight, showing how integrated we were with those guys.
Oh yeah,
now.
for sure. It was definitely way different, because I went to the Dice Tower Con and I'm like, this is the best con I've ever gone to. This is amazing. Like, this is way better than my Gen Con from the year before. And then I went to Gen Con, and it blew me out of the water as well. Like, it was just ridiculous.
It was. I feel like that way all year, right? Every convention I've been to, I'm like, oh, well, that's the best. I'm not gonna be able to top that. But every convention this year I've been to has just been the best. Yeah. And not to be too Jason-like, but it was awesome.
Nice. So, being the 50th Gen Con, what did you think of the crowds there? Like, how crazy packed it was?
Yeah, it was, and I was surprised actually that Sunday's usually lighter, but it was still pretty full.
Oh yeah.
Sunday felt like what a Thursday usually feels like, but I would say that every day felt like a Saturday pretty much. It was just, we had wall-to-wall people all the time, and you could tell when there was a big event somewhere, the crowds would die down for a little bit, but then they would just ramp right back up. Mm-hmm. So it was, and the thing is too is that we had way more space with like the stadium, and with the whole hall in general was bigger than it's been, and it was still just wall-to-wall people. So
Amby's asking me if I liked Gen Con better than Dice Tower. I don't know.
Oh, man, it's tough.
I had a ton of fun playing games at Dice Tower Con. Like, it was legit. And when I talked about it in my vlog, I was like, Dice Tower Con's the best. And I got to, like, personally hang out with a lot of people. But I also got to do a lot of that at Gen Con this year, too. Like, I didn't get to, like, sit down and play as many games. But the amount of, like, people who consumed my content that interacted with me at Gen Con, like, blew Dice Tower away, and like that really meant a lot to me. So, because I was thinking, man, if it's gonna be too crowded, if it's gonna be too busy, like, maybe like Gen Con isn't like a thing that I should pursue. And then after all the people that I would never have interacted with if I didn't go, it's like I have to go. Like,
you have to go.
This many people that like know my content and like are excited about the stuff that I do. Like, I really want to be able to have that face-to-face interaction and talk and hang out with these people and get to meet the people that support like the stuff that I do. So,
and it's really hard to compare the two, because it's Gen Con is all about hanging out and seeing the people and networking, and Dice Tower Con is really all about playing games.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't really say one is better than the other. I had so much fun at both. It's not to be missed. If you have to, you try to get to both. That's the thing,
Awesome. But yeah, for me, I thought the crowds were pretty intense. There was a lot of stuff going on. It was only like really bad if you tried to go through the middle of the exhibition hall. I made that mistake a couple times. I was just like, holy smokes, this is very slow moving.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily have that much of a problem like getting through crowds. So it just brings me back to my my mosh pit / rock concert days. And I'm like, I'm just gonna make my way to the front, gonna make these things happen, gonna not try to hurt anybody on the way, but got to get where I'm going. But but it was definitely a lot of fun. And there was definitely a ton of people there.
Oh yeah.
There was definitely I think there was way more cosplay there this year than in previous years.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just because I was doing the Shut the Door videos for the Dice Tower, but there were so many people there doing that.
Yeah, there was a ton. And I think we all got different cosplayers for every day. Nobody I talked to said anybody had approached them about doing the videos.
I had a couple people, but it was just like they had done it earlier that day. And then there was like a couple people that said, oh, I did a Shut the Door video in a different costume. Should I do it again? And I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely, you should.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what all they do with that, because I think in past years they've done like a Shut the Door compilation just from Gen Con with all the cosplay. So that'd be cool to see. And then if they add it, they're going to add it to a whole bunch of Tom's reviews. It's so funny to see the question marks on people's faces when you ask them to say Shut the Door. They're just like, what?
Like, what? Yeah, I know.
What do you mean? I'm just like, oh, it's like a meme for the Dice Tower. It's like a thing. And they're like, oh, memes. Yeah, we know memes.
We know what that is.
Oh, man. Good time. So was there anything that you were surprised to see at Gen Con?
I guess again that Edge of Humanity, that was a big surprise.
Yeah.
Just because I knew nothing about it, right? And that's kind of one of the things, just in general terms. Every Gen Con, I try to find that game that nobody's talking about, I knew nothing about, and boom, that was it. I think the other thing that was super cool is the tabletop or Berkey's tabletops. They're pretty amazing, right? I mean, if you're a guy on a budget like us and want an amazing game table, those are so well done. And they rival all the big guys doing tables.
It's crazy because there's tons of these like giant tables all over the place, but they're like thousands and thousands of dollars.
But they're amazing, right? But he's done he's found a good way to make affordable tables for everybody, and I think that is just surprising to see them. Like, you hear about it, you're like, oh, it sounds like a neat idea, but then you see them in practice, and you're like, wow, these are really well done. So that was a surprise. I was like, wow, these really are top notch.
He had those at Dice Tower Con too, and like he gave us the whole lowdown and showed us all the different things. I'm definitely excited to show off or talk about the Kickstarter and stuff when that goes live, because I want to see, because he's got like a half size model and then like the full size thing, and like it's also like super solid on the table. Like, I'm surprised about how
it doesn't move. I tried to bump it right, and it's solid. It's sitting there. So
I'm pretty excited about his stuff going out. And he was walking around all convention with his tabletopper's top hat.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. Yeah, and he had fidget spinners all for to promote the tables.
Speaking of fidget spinners, like, dude, I love Jason. Like, Jason's like a known quantity to me.
What a great story this is.
He's like, Jason is a contributor to the Dice Tower, if you guys don't know, and he's like known as like the guy that's kind of like over enthusiastic and is always like all over the place. I mean, he does a lot of work for the Dice Tower, running around and grabbing stuff for him and helping Tom out. Yes. But he was first introduced to fidget spinners at Gen Con.
First time. He hadn't heard about them or anything.
And he was flipping out about fidget spinners. Like, oh my gosh, Berkey gave me this fidget spinner thing. Like, have you guys seen this? These things are the best. Have you ever seen a fidget spinner before? And we're like, dude, man, like, fidget spinners are dead. That was like 6 months ago, man.
Z and I thought he was kidding. And he's like, no, I've never heard of it. I said, how could you not have heard of this?
And he kept flipping out about them. And then at the end of the convention, Mike had a whole bunch of fidget spinners he had used for video. And he was giving them out just for whatever reason. He just had some fidget spinners, and Jason saw all the different times. He's like, they come in different kinds.
It was the best.
Oh my gosh! And then like I my kids have had fidget spinners. I know they're kind of like a weird thing, but I was spinning one, and I was like bouncing it on one finger, and he's like, holy crap! People can do tricks with it. I'm like, Jason,
oh man, it was awesome. Definitely one of the funniest ongoing moments through the convention.
You're awesome, man. I don't know. He's always a known quantity. I also love when he's like, hey, so do you know Tim Jeanette, the Metal Meeple? Are you guys like friends? Like, I'm sure you guys are friends. And I'm just like, I mean, I know him through the Dice Tower. He's like, but you're like not from like the same area or the same town? I'm like, no, man. Like, don't be alternativist. Not all alternative people are the exact same. They don't all like know each other and hang out together, but it's kind of funny.
Jason is hilarious.
Yeah, total blast, blast. But yeah, for me, surprising things besides the thing that I really want to talk about. I had several surprises, but one of them I'm going to save for my most exciting. But one of the big surprises was they announced TI4, and I flipped out about it on the last podcast. Right. Everybody knows that I flipped out about it. I read the rules. I went through a deep analysis of all the differences in the things on the last podcast. But I knew it was going to be like they were going to show it off there. I didn't realize they were going to actually have the game there.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, man, they're not going to. They didn't do, because last year they did Mansions of Madness. This year, they didn't even hint that they were actually going to have it there until everybody was already at the convention. They were like, oh yeah, by the way, Twilight Imperium 3 or Twilight Imperium 4 is actually here. It's literally here, and you can buy it. And we have stacks and stacks and stacks of it. I think they had some of it every day.
Yeah, they had some every day, and did it actually sell out?
They actually sold out of all the ones they had.
But it wasn't until Saturday, though, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah,
I think they still had some on Sunday morning. Like I think
Okay.
they held held
some
some
back
for
for
every
the-
single day, and they had quite a big stack of it every single day. But then they sold out on the last few days, like towards the end of the day. So I think Sunday's like lot that they had was just gone. Like then they were completely out at that point.
Right. Yeah, I've got to get my hands on a copy.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
Twilight Imperium 4. I'm stoked. It will be mine.
So
cool.
I have real note about games in general, right? So based on the reviews that and games that I'm going to be looking at,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I had to go buy another suitcase to bring everything home.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I couldn't find anything reasonably priced. And in the corner, I got to tell the story. And while I was looking, this was also good. I'm looking for suitcase, and like 4 other people come in who recognize me and go, "Oh, we know what you're buying a suitcase for."
Yeah.
and so we had a long conversation. But I found a suitcase in the corner, this hot little pink number that was way cheaper than everything else.
Nice.
And that's what I bought. So my new suitcase is hot pink, and it was like half the cost of everything else because I assumed the color. But it saved me. It got me home with all the games. So
That's awesome. So now Mark Streed's got to be sporting a hot pink suitcase
That's
to all
right,
the conventions, man.
Although it was easy to spot on the carousel, so that's something.
Like Gencon, you should just like pack a suitcase inside of a suitcase to go with.
Yeah, I should have. And what I did is I had a suitcase with like a day pack and a backpack, because usually that about does it for me. And then publishers can send me games, but yeah, I was like way out of space this year. So
Yeah, Rob got more games at Gen Con than I did, and he wasn't even there. his friend Lee is like super awesome, and like Rob sent him a list. Well, Rob was kind of mad at him because he's been trying to invite him to Gen Con for like a couple years now, and he kept like not being able to come like at the last second. But this year when Rob's having the baby, he decided to actually show up. We talked about it on the last podcast. Which is kind of hilarious, but he went around and bought Rob all these games, and then dropped off a ton of games for Rob at the Dice Tower booth, and I'm just like, wow, Rob has way more games than me, and he's not even here.
Love it.
But I'm hoping,
that's awesome.
I'm hoping after things settle down, like I'll get a chance to play a ton of Rob's awesome games.
That'll be awesome, man.
But yeah, definitely tons of exciting stuff. My friends were like, hey man, we're going to be leaving at this time on Monday, so can you meet us at the hotel? I'm just like, guys,
no,
I have way too many bags to walk 6 blocks. I'm sorry, like I don't know how I could make that. Do you think they would let me borrow one of the carts and take it? I'm like, no, that's not going to work. So they had to like come and pick me up, but I was just like, yeah, I've got, because I packed super light because I knew I was going to be hanging out with them.
Right.
And then I was going to have to run to all the Dice Tower stuff. So it was kind of like an awkward situation a little bit, because I'm like, oh man, my friends are driving me in and I get to hang out with them, but like they've got tons of events planned the entirety of Gen Con. And I'm kind of sad that like I didn't get to hang out with them more, but we got to do some role-playing games on the way down and role-playing games on the way back. And that was actually pretty fun. But I didn't get a whole lot of chance to hang out with them because I was doing so much stuff with the Dice Tower crew and then like the fans that I met up with and hung out with. So
which was so cool.
Yeah. And but yeah, so that was a blast. Was there anything that was super crazy at Gen Con?
Oh man. Okay, so super crazy. When I went to the Yellow, the Yellow does this private party that they invite folks to, and they announce what they're working on, what's coming up, what's cool, blah blah blah. And so it's just this kind of hobnobbing affair. But then they had Mountains of Madness there to play, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to play it and check it out because I watched Sam, Z, and Tom's video when they played it, and it just looked hilarious, right? All the stuff you have to do. And they happen to have Allison there as their spokesperson, and she was phenomenal to play games with. It was just an insane experience. Mountains of Madness with her and the guys that we played with was just phenomenal. And again, you have to have the right group, right? Because this is one of those games.
Also, the Neverboard Gaming guys.
And the Neverboard
because they were live streaming it, and I'm like,
yeah,
Mark, are you cheating on me with the Neverboard Gaming guys? What's going on?
I know, right? That was hilarious. And when he told me, I'm like, what? So we were just doing insane stuff, and you have to follow those madness things, or the game just. I think the game would fall flat if you don't have the right group to do it, because I had instances where I couldn't make eye contact with anybody, and I had to be talking out of my hand, and all kinds of. You had to start rhyming, and you could only talk in months where that was the number you were going to give. So like, I've got, whatever month this many, and it takes you a bit to figure out what their madness is when they're doing that kind of stuff. But Allison Hayslip, she's like from internet fame. She was on G4. She's been on Bones and CIS. She's like their new spokesperson, and she energized the group. She was just phenomenal to play this game with, and it was just insane. We were all up off the table doing just crazy stuff.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait.
We barely pulled out for the win, and it was just one of those yes moments. It was probably the most crazy game and experience gaming while I was there. It was just phenomenal. So definitely. You got to check it out if the stream's up. And I know Jason recorded a bunch of it. You got to look for that in his vlog as well. But it was just crazy. And there had those moments too where you're like, are you not playing? But it was their madness that made it seem like they weren't playing the game.
Gotcha. So they wanted to play the game. They were just like having to be very sneaky about it, I guess. Sneaky,
yeah. Just what their madness was. So, and you really need that group to engage with it. And it was just so much fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've got a couple crazy stories. I think I'm going to go with my my cringy story first, which is kind of funny. Here we go. Sure. So for the Dice Tower, we did a bunch of different video things, and one of the video things was to take video outside of the main expedition hall. So it's like, okay, I'm like, I don't know that anybody's got like a whole lot of footage of like the tournament area, so I'm gonna like do some footage, and they can always use more because they always are switching out all the tournaments they're doing all the time anyway. So like, I'm gonna do a little bit of footage over in the tournament area. So I was like filming some of the Fantasy Flight and Rune Wars stuff, and I come across they were having a My Little Pony collectible card game tournament, and I'm like, oh man, Tom's gonna love some footage of the My Little Pony collectible card game tournament. I gotta make this happen. So I'm like, start the video like showing the sign of the My Little Pony collectible card game, and I was like, I mean, I've messed around with the card game with like my sister-in-law because she likes My Little Pony and stuff. But I was like, yeah, let's do the video. But I go over to see all the guys in the tournament, and they have like My Little Pony stuffed animals with them and all sorts of different stuff. There's just a whole bunch of dudes with My Little Pony stuffed animals, and then you go like a couple tables over, and there's like tons of like little girls playing the game, and I'm just like, what the world is going on? Like, this is crazy. So you had the actual people there that was for the My Little Pony theme, but then you had like the dudes that were like the super bronies. Yeah. Just having the stuffed animals with them was the part that like threw it over the top. I was like, this is great. Man. Only at Gencon, man.
Only at Gencon, man. No doubt. I that's great that they can get into it. There's no way I could do that.
And my second crazy thing is so going into this convention, all I wanted was Emerson games and Rhino Hero Super Battle. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to get Rhino Hero Super Battle. They only had like 100 copies, and I know I talked about it a ton.
And it was gone instantly.
Me and Mark are like the current champions of Rhino Hero Super Battle, because our game, I don't know if you've seen the pictures on Instagram, but our game is like the hugest tower of like Rhino Hero Super Battle like ever. And this was the first game we'd ever played of it, right?
Yeah.
For both of us. Like we made this crazy thing, and it was like super tall.
Every card got used.
But I kind of got to know like the demoer guy from us playing that, and then I played it again with Rob and still talked to the guy that demos for Haba again there. Anyway, I was kind of sad because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get this game, and there were like several other people that had it, and I'm like, oh man, Rhino Hero Super Battle, that'd be amazing. So the very last day, we had packed everything up for the Dice Tower. We're getting everything together and stuff, and we're finishing out like the entire convention. And the demo guy, I talked to him at Gen Con too. I was like, hey man, how's Rhino Hero Super Battle? He's like, oh man, all sold out. We're doing crazy. It's crazy and great, and Hoppa's doing great over there and stuff. And I like chatted with him a little bit, but he comes by with a copy of Rhino Hero Super Battle for the Dice Tower to review, and he's like, hey, I got this for Tom or whatever. And Tom's like, oh, we already have Rhino Hero Super Battle. And like I had talked to him about like, man, I need this game. And I was just like, oh man. And so he literally just like hands it to me, and Tom goes like, perfect. And like that works out. And I was like, you guys don't know how much this means, man. You have no clue how much this means. It really means a lot.
I was there. It was amazing.
So I was like, I felt sad because like I didn't have a lot to like be able to get crazy games or anything like that. So like I was pretty excited, and then I got a chance to play it with Pep and play it with the guys from Plan B.
Oh, you did play with Pep? That's awesome.
Yes, I played with Pep, played with the guys from Plan B at like the Plaid Hat meetup, and then I also played it with like Isaac Vega and them at the Plaid Hat meetup. So as soon as I got the game, I was immediately showing it off to a bunch of other people. Yeah. So I feel like I was a worthy investment of the game. And I really want to. I mean, Haba themselves know that like I'm a super fan of Rhino Hero. So So hey. Any convention anybody sees me, now I'm not only going to have Rhino Hero, but Rhino Hero Super Battle, the next step up. Make sure to stop me. We're going to play some.
It's amazing. That game is phenomenal. It really is.
Yeah. And people look at it and they're like, oh, man, they convoluted such a simple game. They didn't. Like it is easier to teach than regular Rhino Hero because they took the entire Uno mechanic out of it and just made it where you're racing to the top. And like it's super, super simple, super easy to teach. And the structures that you make are so crazy and convoluted when you make them. There's just lots of fun things in the game. So Rhino Hero Super Battle was definitely one of the craziest things at Gen Con, and I'm super excited that happened. So,
nice.
So Mark, you got to go first on this one. What was the most exciting part of your Gen Con experience?
Wow.
Most exciting.
Wow, there were so many. I don't know.
You know, if I start talking, it's going to be a while.
Right. There's just a bunch, right? I mean, there's a whole avalanche of things. Like I said, the playing the stuff with Allison Hayslip was amazing. And you know what? I think still the most exciting bit was when we were handing out tickets for the show.
Nice.
Just because I got to interact with everybody at that point, and it was just so fun. Again, all the comments and all the amazing people that were like, wow, we love your stuff. It was just...
It's funny because you just get home and you want to make more.
You just want to do more, yeah. Because it's so invigorating. I mean, it just makes you so excited, and you're like, yes, I am doing the right thing. People like what I do. And it turns into where it really helps them, and they really appreciate what you do to show them the games and so forth. So, and again, just the whole excitement around that, and being part of the Dice Tower network, and having that as just going into the convention is just an excitement in itself, because hanging out with the core guys and then all the contributors around that, just people. And what's so exciting about that is that people that, like Roy said before, that we see, that we watch even ourselves, hanging out with them, and it's like we know each other already immediately. You know, like Dave Luza, right? It was like we'd known him forever. We were just hanging out, like, hey, it's Dave again, you know. But it was the first time we all met and got to hang out. And Dave is a phenomenal guy. So
he was my roommate, and like immediately I was like, I created a group with him and Rob. I was like, it's the cool room at Gen Con.
That's right.
So we got to be like just hanging out, chatting back and forth, working out who's going to be in the room when, and like how we're going to get our bags moved from here to there, like all that different stuff. But it was fun, like being able to just talk about all the different things. Like even if we like completely different types of games, it's still cool to talk about the things that we're excited about, you know?
Yeah. And my roommate was Z, right? And every convention, Z and I get paired up a lot for rooms. And it always feels like I'm at camp, you know?
Nice.
It's because we stay up late, we're talking about stuff. It always feels like being at camp.
So y'all just use one bed?
Yeah, oh yeah. No, two beds. But yeah, it has that takes me back to being a kid and being at camp. And I think that's what all the conventions do for me. And, you know, even though Roy and I weren't in the live show, you know what, I almost feel like doing that line was more fun potentially than being,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think the fan interaction was most exciting, and hanging out and being part of the Dice Tower crew. Of course, the games are exciting, but for me, again, even if it's just a simple trick-taking game, the whole idea of the interacting with people is what makes me love this hobby so much. And I'm super appreciative to everybody who said hi and came up. So thank you. But yeah, I mean, that's the excitement. And there's so much, and everybody is at that level at the convention. Everyone's excited to be there. They want to see the games. They want to talk about the games. And I told Z at one point, we were walking to the Kabbalah's meetup, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And on the corner, you know, as we cross paths with people, you hear people like, and then the event card does this. And I told Z, I'm like, where else in the world can I just walk on a random street corner and hear somebody talking about an event card in a board game?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome moments like that.
You're just completely surrounded with other people that love games.
Yeah, and who just genuinely want to be there, and their excitement level is there as well, and they're genuinely just are so excited to meet us and appreciative. So I think that is what it boils it down. And then just all the other part of that is that all the friendships made with people, with the publishers, and getting to see everybody every time. It's just always, and hanging out. And Eric Lang is like, hey, you're going to come back because I don't have time right now to talk to you, but you're going to come back. Yes, I'll come back. So moments like that are just awesome for me still.
All and these huge people in the industry, like knowing who you are and like calling you out and like wanting to hang out with you.
Yeah, I just, and seeing Emerson is always a highlight for me. Hanging out with him. And, you know, I wish I could have gone to that last night, but I had other things with Tom I was doing. But it would just, I just look forward to that so much, more so than the games themselves. Just, you know, like, I don't care what it is. Let's just sit down and play and hang out. So, I think those are the high points for me overall. How about you?
Awesome. My most exciting part has a story that actually starts at the very beginning when I first met up with the Dice Tower to start off Gen Con. So I go and I text Tom and I'm like, hey man, I'm here. And he's like, okay, call me and let me know what door you're at. And I'm like, okay, I'm at this entrance. They told me I had to go to this entrance. So I'm standing there. He comes up and I see several other of the Dice Tower contributors and we're like standing there talking. Tom brings me my badge and we're starting like the convention, like Gen Con proper. And Tom immediately says to me, hey man, after dinner tonight, you and Sam are going to play a game with me. And I'm like, oh, awesome, cool. And he's like, I think it's a game that you'll really enjoy. Like, I think it's right up your alley. And I look at him and I go, is it TI4? And he kind of smirks at me. And Jason's like, oh, I want in. And he's like, no, Jason. and I'm just like, I immediately felt like, what the world? Like, what is it? I mean, I was joking about, like, there's no way, like, we're going to be playing TI4. Maybe it's just some cool game that he knows is really thematic. I'm like, maybe my best shot, like, we're going to be playing Fallout. This would be really awesome. Like, if I got to play some game that isn't even released yet. So we go to dinner. We have all that stuff. And I hear some, like, rumblings about, like, oh, man, hey, we're, like, going to play TI4 after dinner. Like, what? And, I mean, Sam didn't even know. Because I was like, Sam, like, what's the game? And Sam's like, I don't know. Tom hasn't told me. And I was like, okay. And, like, literally, I didn't, like, fully realize what was happening until we finished dinner. We ran out. He's like, we get done with dinner. We had dinner at an awesome restaurant. Had tons of fun, like, because we had, like, whatever that shrimp cocktail that everybody talks about at what was the place called? Izzy's.
Oh, what is it? Yeah, that's it. Izzy's. But that thing is amazing.
And the shrimp cocktail is like extremely spicy, and they're all like, I
don't even like seafood, and it's amazing.
They're all like, man, that's gonna like burn you up, and I'm just like, not even phased. And Tom's like, stop! You need to stop. It's not funny. I'm just like, it's not hot. It's not spicy at all. And then having a blast with Rob and Z and Sam all like trying to up themselves to see who can eat the more spicy stuff and who can take it without crying. Because, I mean, it's pretty cry-worthy.
Yeah, it was. It was hilarious.
But we had a ton of fun with that. But the most exciting part is when I walk into the room, that Tom had led us to, because he's like, okay, me, Roy, and Sam have to leave. Like, we have to go to this thing. In a little while, you guys can stop by the room and see what the game is. Like, that's what we told everybody else. I just felt like I was, like, on the inside. Like, I had this crazy scoop on this thing. And they bring me in, and they have Twilight Imperium 4 set up. Brian, one of the main guys for Fantasy Flight, has Twilight Imperium all set up, ready for us to go. And he's been, like, waiting for us to come and play. And, like, we sit down, and I'm playing Twilight Imperium 4 with a representative from Fantasy Flight and Tom and Sam. And I'm like, dear Lord,
awesome!
What fantasy dreamland am I in right now? Like, and on top of that, like, he was explaining the game. I was kind of helping him, like, with some of the stuff a little bit as we're explaining, going through, because I'm kind of like, oh yeah, this and this. And Tom's like, did you already read the rule book? And I'm just like, oh yeah, I talked about my podcast and stuff. And Tom was like, oh, I hate you. But I mean, I could really tell that really meant, like, hey, this guy knows what's going on. but we had a ton of fun playing the game. And Tom was like, oh man, we're going to play this game and we're going to run out of time and no one's even going to have taken Mechatol Rex. I played the game. In one turn, like the second to last turn of the game, I took Mechatol Rex.
Nice.
I had the card that allowed me to get an extra point for having Mechatol Rex, which I took before them knowing I was going to take Mechatol Rex. And then I completed an objective because that card allows me to complete an objective early, and then I completed another objective. So I went up like 4 points in one turn. And it was epic. It was amazing. It was like one of the best things in gaming for me ever, just because like I never dreamed that I would be like in that super like situation, and it was a surprise. And Tom didn't even realize that Twilight Imperium was my favorite game of all time. I was like, dude, don't you watch my like top like my list or whatever? He's like, I mean, no. He's like, I watched some of the contributor stuff. I'm like, but it's my top 10. It's my very top 10 of all games ever. Don't you want to know me, man? He's like, well, what's your number 2? So then I was like, well, War of the Ring. He's like, what's your number 3? And I'm like, well, Zaya. He's like, that's some good picks. I'm like, yeah. So
that's awesome.
So it's just cool to get to know those guys better and play that game in that situation and play like my like Twilight. It's not that much different from Twilight Imperium, but the fact that I got to like take pictures of it, post all that on Instagram all week long, people were asking me about Twilight Imperium 4 because I had an inside scoop. I had played it before like anybody who wasn't Fantasy Flight, you know?
Right.
So it was like I was there on the forefront for my favorite game, and I don't even know how that happened. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
sure, Sam put in a good word for you.
Well, Sam acted like he didn't even know. So, I mean, I'm sure maybe Sam talks me up and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, that's just, I don't know. It made me so happy.
That's super awesome.
So definitely thank you for Tom for letting me do that. It definitely was the highlight of my convention. And the convention hadn't even started yet. You know?
Which is awesome.
I was like, hey, we played the game the night before the convention started.
Yeah, I think as exciting gaming moments was when Sam and I were playing Edge of Humanity, right? Where the first game was Sam, Rob, and I pulled it out at the end for the win. And then the second game we played the following night, or that night, I pulled out the win again with extra points. And then like Sam would tell something and I'd be like, no, I think you do it this way. And Sam would be like, you shut up, Streed.
Oh, they definitely did that to me a lot because
I was so awesome.
Sam ended the game with like 1 or 2 points. Tom ended the game. We kind of started packing up, and he was like, oh, yeah, we were supposed to do this thing for points. But he had planned on doing it, but we were kind of wrapping it up because we only played like half of the game.
Right, of course.
But it was fun. Tom attacked me futilely, like he knew he wasn't going to win. But he's like, I want to see how combat works. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And then like Sam was starting to build up an armada that was coming close to Rex, and I'm just like, man, I wish we could play the rest of this game, but there's no way we can start the game, the convention off with like no sleep. So we really have to stop. But it was just like I was doing really good. Oh, and another thing that kind of like put it into perspective or put it down a little bit is they didn't mention me at all on the Dice Star podcast while talking about Twilight Imperium 4, and I was tied for the win with Brian.
Wow.
Haters, they were just jealous, honestly.
That's what it was.
They were pretty upset that I was so far ahead of them in points.
Yep.
And I had tons of ships and tons of war sons.
Yeah,
we're just cowering in fear, man. You got to.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yep.
Awesome.
So the other thing about Edge of Humanity is that the last game we played, Sam did win finally, but
nice.
I was like way in the back of the pack, right? And
gotcha. So they mixed it up on you.
I was losing big time. And then in the last couple turns, which was really cool about the game is that there's some really nice catch-up stuff going on. And he beat me by 1 point. One point.
Another thing that was cool was after we got done with the game and we're all going back to our hotel room for like the first time, Tom was like, man, I love playing games with like people like you, like who like to get in the game and stuff. Like that really meant a lot to me, you know?
Nice.
When he's like, I love playing games with like Ameritrashers who like get into it. And I'm like, yes, let's play more games, Tom. Let's do this.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm with you.
Cool. Cool. So one of the last questions here is, well, we got a couple. How has Gencon changed for you over the years?
Well, for me, it's just been
ridiculous, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's crazy because, you know, I remember first Gencon that I went and Tom barely knew who I was. And he told me to come by the booth and maybe I could hang out a little bit in the booth. And then at that convention, I ended up working in the booth a lot and getting to know everybody. And for, you know, standing next to Eric and Z, well, Z wasn't even there that year. So standing next to Eric and him and I work in the booth and just getting to know those guys over all the conventions and now being like fully integrated into the team during convention time has just been, for me, the biggest swing and change. And then just the knowing, like, being able to go up to publishers and have them all know you and are very aware of what you do and all the new friends in the industry and such. It just, for me, that's the thing that's changed dramatically. And as far as Gen Con in general, then going from, 5 years ago, it's so much bigger just in 5 years time than it was. It's just every year that hall grows bigger and bigger, and the games seem to get more plentiful and bigger again, and just better games in general. And there's still really good games from years ago, but man, the quality seems to continually go up and up. And I can't wait to see where it all continues to go. And the crowds again go up and up. Everything about it just gets bigger and better, it seems like. So
yeah, for me, the very first year we started Gen Con was shortly after we had actually started the podcast. And all we were really doing was the podcast. We had like a lucky break and had Isaac on the show for like episode 10 or something like that, or like episode 9, which is really like gracious of him to come on the show when we're that new, But we were there and we were talking to Isaac, and like Isaac was like, man, you guys do a great job, and like that meant a lot to us. And then like we talked to Emerson and we're like, man, we love Spectrops. Spectrops is the best. And Emerson, like that year, the Plaid Hat booth and Nazca booth were like right beside each other.
Yeah, I remember.
And like we were standing in the middle of the Plaid Hat booth just like talking with each other. And then Emerson comes back over and was like, oh man, I watch you guys' podcast. I knew I recognized you guys. Like, I've seen your podcast. Like, I watch it all the time. Like, I should have recognized the spiky hair. You guys are great. And, like, Emerson saying that to us back in the day. I know I've told this story a bajillion times on the podcast.
It's a great story.
But it continued to drive me to continue to play, to continue to do board game media. It's just like, man, if Emerson saw something backing us that far back, like, we're just going to keep doing it. And I told him that at Gen Con. I was like, you're still one of the main reasons like that I do board game media, because you gave us a drive to continue and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Year 2, Gray Fox game booth. Like I didn't like, Gen Con is expensive, so I figured out a way to try to like minimize costs. Gonna help out at a booth. Worked with we had Josh on the show, so I had to end with Josh from Gray Fox. So I was gonna work at the Gray Fox booth. I spent a ton of time there. Demoing games was a complete blast. It was a ton of fun just demoing games for other people. And I had a solid space where I was. Like, people knew, like, I had Instagrammed out and tweeted out, I'm going to be at the Gray Fox booth. People come by if you want to say hi to me. And there were tons of people that came by. There was a guy and his wife that came by and was like, oh my gosh, he wanted to come by. He really wants to get a picture with you, but he's like too nervous to like ask you for a picture. And like, for me, that was weird and ridiculous. And I'm like, man, this is insane that someone like listens to my content and enjoys it enough to be nervous to come take a picture with me. And I was handing out, like, I had a bunch of Epic Gaming Night dice that I was handing out to people, and people were so excited. They had seen me on back then I was only doing like contributions on like Blender and Throat Punch Lunch and like little bits of stuff with the Dice Tower and slightly starting to work on stuff. And then this year was completely like insane because I was helping out the Dice Tower booth. Everybody knew that I was going to be around there at certain times, so they would stop by, and then they would just stop me everywhere because I was doing reviews, and I'm literally on their channel like 1 or 2 times a week, like every single week. So like everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's Roy. Oh my goodness. And it was really crazy when people like come up to me and are like, oh my goodness, like I just want to say hi, but I'm so nervous I gotta run off, like I can't be around you because I'm too starstruck. And I'm just like, no way, come on man, let's talk about some games. Like I'm just a normal person, like I want to be down to earth. And I had so much fun, like people that would stop me and say, hey, they enjoy my content. I would try to then bring it out more with them and just talk to them about how they're enjoying the convention, what games they're into, what things they've demoed, because I want to leave a lasting impression on people that I'm not just there to be like, oh, look at me, I've done these things and I'm so great. No. I'm here because I want to create awesome content for you, but I'm also a down-to-earth guy and want to have fun. And like I play the same games as you. I'm literally the same as you guys. I just do some videos on the Dice Tower, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I love that. I mean, that interaction, the fan interaction is just one of my favorite things. It's been just such an encouragement overall. So I'm 100% in agreement, and it's a crazy. You have the same experience over from like, you know, we've been doing the show for almost 4 years now. So it's to see and have those moments where people are nervous. I'm like, don't be nervous. Let's hang out. You know,
for sure.
I love that. I mean, I don't want people to feel nervous. They come talk to me, say hi. That's why I'm there.
Yeah, you know? For sure. If you're ever at a convention and you see me and Mark at least, we definitely want to talk to you. For a fact. Like, it means so much to us. Like, you coming up and talking to us gives us more encouragement to continue doing what we're doing. Like, it definitely means a lot. So
it really does.
It's definitely awesome. Continue to hit us up. And we just want to say thank you for everyone who, like, stopped by and hung out with us and said hi. And, I mean, at the Secret Cabal meetup, I think both of us were like kind of doing this a little bit. Just I literally was walking down the line, like I was kind of going towards the back of the line, and I would just stop at either there were people that I knew or people that knew me, and I would just be like, I would just talk with them. I would just talk with them for a while, talking to them about their convention. They'd be like, oh, man, Roy, I love your content. And I'd be like, okay, cool, man, awesome. Like, what are you guys getting into? Like, what games have you seen? What are you excited about? Like, I want to get to know more about the people that I see at conventions, because this is just about, like, building relationships and building friendships and, like, getting to know more people that are into games like I am. I mean, they already know a lot about me, so it's cool. I want to get to know some about them. And I would find someone, talk to them, and move with the line as it was going up.
Yes.
And then get to like the front door and be like, okay, cool, well, I'll talk to you later. And then start walking back towards the end of the line, and somebody else would stop me. And then I'd start sliding back down towards the front of the line. And I wasn't worried about getting a ticket for the raffle or anything like that. I just wanted to like hang out and see the people. So I got back towards the front, and then I'd go back again, and I'd see someone else I knew or someone that knew me. And I just like talked to so many people. And that was another one of those like line experiences, but one where I had a little bit more time to actually like interact with people. And
I really liked that as well. There was a bunch of people just mulling around up front, and I was hanging out there and saying hi to everybody. So I really enjoyed that as well.
I saw Tom during the service on Sunday morning, and I was like, he asked me, he's like, hey man, what'd you do last night? I was like, oh, I went to the Secret Cabal meetup. And he's like, oh, cool, yeah, that's kind of crazy. And I was like, yeah, man, totally crazy. I was like, but there's no other place where I can like go and hang out with that many other people that consume my content that I like can just get. And I told him the whole story about the line and talking to people. And he's like, yeah, us and like the Secret Cabal and like you. I mean, we all like talk to people. And the fact that like he put me in like a sentence kind of on like the same level as the Secret Cabal and him, and I'm just like, what? No. And just because I felt like he thought of me in a little bit that way, I'm like, this means a lot right now. So
that's awesome.
But definitely fan interaction is definitely very important for me at these conventions. So
yep.
So we wanted to say thanks.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I mean, without you guys, that's why we do it. Really, it's make it all worth it.
Awesome. Well, this has been a gigantic hype fest about all of our crazy stories at Gen Con. Was there anything else you wanted to throw in here before we close this thing out, Mark?
Man, I don't think I have any other. I mean, I'm sure other stuff will come to me.
Yeah.
Love to almost have a follow-up, but it's really, again, just a big thanks to all the publishers and designers and fans for everything. It just makes it all worth it. So,
guys, definitely make sure to check out all the things that Mark Streed does. He has a ton of amazing and exciting things coming down the line from Board Game Corner. So make sure to keep an eye on everything that Mark's doing. If you're not following over on Twitter and Instagram, make sure to follow him. What is that?
Board Game Corner. Board Game Corner.
And BG Corner.
BG Corner. Because someone has taken our Instagram. I don't know why, but it's just not. It's weird. Anyway, so BG Corner on Instagram and Board Game Corner on Twitter. And we're going to be ramping up. We're going to be having more content than we ever have because I happen to have a lot more time now these days. So look for that. I'm going to be doing a ton of new stuff. I'm doing some like rules videos for people, and there's some other new things in the works as well. So keep an eye out for sure.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen Mark's stuff on Favorite Game Friday, it's normally pretty ridiculous. He makes all the other contributors feel bad, but it also makes everybody feel happy at the same time because they're always looking forward to it every time.
Yeah. I'm looking. This week will be fun too. So it's going to be. I kind of. Favorite Game Friday, I may have painted myself into a corner a little bit because I don't think I can't go back to just.
I think if you have a week where things are busy, I feel like the fans would want to know your opinion on the game more than they need you to stand in front of a green screen and on Premiere Pro for like 5 hours. So, if you ever have those weeks where things are tight, just throw up the camera, make it happen, man.
All right.
You're gonna make Ambi sad.
People are going to expect the other, though, and I don't want to disappoint anybody.
No, I mean, you know what's even more of a disappointment? Not being on Favorite Game Friday. You're already disappointing me, Mark.
I know. Yep, awesome. I got to work on mine tomorrow. I'm working on mine, so.
I definitely have a lot of stress coming up trying to figure out how I'm going to continue to do stuff. I currently having a bunch of crazy computer issues. My computer fried the day before Gen Con. I don't want to go too much in depth with it, but
sucks.
I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm taking my computer to the shop tomorrow. Dell already told me that the motherboard is fried from our troubleshooting steps. I'm hoping that they're wrong and that it's the power supply inside the computer. And hopefully that will be a lot cheaper than the motherboard. But I'm taking it to a repair shop tomorrow. Hopefully there's not too much of a lapse in my content. But if things aren't around, it's because I'm currently not able to make things. I have so many games that I can review like right now. I want to get this Rhino Hero Super Battle out. I want to get some Crossfire out. I want to get like a bunch of videos done. I got to do my review for the patrons for Century. Like so many exciting things, which will be coming.
Yes.
Eventually, someday.
Yep. Well, hopefully
find a computer that can run Premiere.
Hopefully by next week you're all good to go. So,
if you find a man, or if there's a report of a man that robbed an Apple store, no, I'm just kidding.
I won't say a word. I don't know. Roy, no, I've never heard of him. Nope.
Anyway, awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Mark.
Bet anytime. I'm available whenever you need me. So.
Hype. We do want to say thank you to all of our patrons over on Patreon as well. We are still working on getting our Century review. I got our copy of Century Crystal Golem at Gen Con, and not only did I get it, I got it signed by Emerson, because I'm like, hey, Emerson, you got to sign this for the patrons. So specifically, he signed this for you guys. So we're going to be giving that away to one of our patrons over on Patreon. And if you feel like supporting Epic Gaming Night, make sure to check out patreon.com/Epic Gaming Night. And it just goes to help support the show, helps keep the lights on over here, and hype.
Definitely, man. You guys are great. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Well, we stream these every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to check us out at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night. Also, make sure to check out Mark on all his stuff. And I'm not sure how long Rob's going to be out. I mean, having a new baby is a big deal.
Big deal.
But definitely shout out to Rob again, and congratulations on the baby. And
Yes.
Matt should be back next week. We need more Yaz in our life.
Nice.
Nice. We'll see everybody next time. Have a great time.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Later.
Awesome. I think that went good. We're still currently on the thing, but I'll crop it with the audio. I did get Adobe Audition to work on my laptop. It's very slow. And I'm like, if Audition's slow, my wife's like, don't install all these Adobe products on our laptop. It won't be able to handle it. And if we lose our laptop, we're in trouble. And I'm like, you're right. I can't wreck our laptop.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Yeah. Well, let me know. I mean, I'm so sorry, man.
Hey, things are gonna be good.
Yeah.
I can still post things on Instagram occasionally.
Yeah.
And still make the podcast. At least I can still make the podcast.
Make the podcast. That's the core of what you do. So you should definitely...
I texted Tom and told him what was going on, and Sam already knew. I already talked to Sam before.
What did Tom say?
Tom was like, "It's okay, man. It'll be fine." I'm like, "Okay." But yeah.
He's super understanding about that stuff. Yeah. So
I'm not as understanding because I don't want. I've started a thing and I want it to continue. Right. I want my stuff to keep going up. Like I was like, I think I have like 3 videos in the can for Favorite Game Friday on the Dice Tower, and I don't want it to like stop. And Sam's like, it's okay if it does. I'm like, no, it's not. Like for me personally, I don't want things to stop. So
I'm that's the one thing about losing the day job is that I'm like, wow, I can do a lot more stuff now.
Yeah. And the thing is, the more you build up, like you feel like you get that pace and you're doing all the things and just really don't want it to end.
Don't want it to end. Yeah. I want to keep doing that. So, and I got some more paid video stuff coming up. I'm pretty excited about it.